Okay, here we are again with another gear video, of which I said I wasn't going to make anymore, but oh well. And no, I'm not going to drink today because it's early in the middle of the week. Just kidding. Today I'm going to be talking about my pretty much finalized Sony a7S III cinema rig. First, you'll have to excuse the video quality here of my phone. The a7S III is the only camera I have, so there you have it. Now this is the result of a lot of trial and error, a lot of money, a lot of buying, a lot of selling. Just kind of had to figure out what worked for me and what didn't work, and you'll likely have to go through the same. So this isn't an end-all be-all, best of all the rigs out there. Some things might not work for you, so you're gonna have to likely go through the same trial and error, but hopefully this saves some time. And yeah, this might be a little late to the game considering how old this camera is, but it's still pretty much in a class of its own, so I guess it's still relevant. Alright, let's get right into it. First up is the SmallRig Master Cage Kit for the Sony a7S III, which includes the cage, obviously, a small NATO rail to adapt your top handle, which includes a 15mm rod mount, and also a HDMI clamp, which I don't use because I think it's pretty bulky and gets in the way of stuff, but it's up to you. Out of all the other cages I tried, I found this to be the most sturdy and worth the money. I did have a Condor Blue cage that, while it had a lot of nice features, it just felt very flimsy. I mean, it felt like the thing was made out of paper mache and not metal. And I've also adapted another longer NATO rail to the side for my side handle, which is also made by SmallRig. You're going to hear that name a lot because they're great and they're affordable. It's the mini side handle with NATO clamp, and it's universal. You can adapt it for left or for right. And one thing I really like about this is it includes a little Allen wrench that is magnetically held at the bottom for ease. And I find this handy tightening and loosening a lot of other things, so pretty great. And going from top to bottom here, I mount the camera and cage onto a DJI quick release plate that comes with my RS3 Pro. And reason for doing that is it allows me to quickly take the camera off my tripod setup rig and put it right on my RS3 Pro very quickly. And I adapt that plate to a SmallRig quick release Arca-Type plate here that holds things in nice and snug and can also be adapted sideways to fit the plate in sideways, which is the way you adapt it onto the RS3 Pro. So pretty quick, pretty handy. It's tight, it's not gonna fall out. Again, you can trust SmallRig. And I adapt that SmallRig quick release base plate onto another base plate, which is the Camvate Dovetail quick release system, which includes the base plate, which has 15mm rod adapters, some rosette arm adapters, which are nice if you want to, you know, put a extension arm on with a grip for a shoulder rig and what have you, and obviously a 12-inch dovetail, which is very handy for even further quick releasing and also balancing your system if you don't have a tripod that does that too well, like me. Now, the reason I'm using two quick releases is one, like I mentioned before, the first one, quick release, put right onto your Ronin like that, and the second one is to quick release your entire rig. And with that comes the third base plate, which is the SmallRig Touch and Release. Isn't that what? Touch and Go. Which is the SmallRig Touch and Go quick release base plate. This is what allows you to remove your entire rig, and you just adapt that onto your tripod plate. This stays in the tripod. Unlock. And there you go. Now your whole rig comes off very easily. Without, how the fuck does this go back on? Come on! So all these base plates, I know it sounds excessive and can get costly, of course, but just allows you to be versatile in all your situations. And as always, for my external monitor, an Animus Ninja 5. You can't go wrong with the Ninja 5. Everybody that has an a7S III, actually anybody that has a camera should own a Ninja 5 for a ton of reasons, which I won't get into. And with the Ninja 5, I have the SmallRig cage kit that has a nice NATO rail on the bottom, which make things pretty handy. And also includes an HDMI clamp, which this one I actually like. It doesn't really get in the way. And to adapt the monitor onto the cage, I have a SmallRig swivel and tilt monitor mount here. It's nice and snug and doesn't get too loose, and if it does, you can tighten it. It has the little holes for tightening with an Allen wrench, and that's another reason that the little Allen wrench included in the handle comes in handy. And for your 15mm rods, yep, you guessed it, SmallRig. These are the 12-inch carbon fiber rails. Carbon fiber is much lighter. In theory, you're not really going to notice much of a difference. I had the aluminum ones. The difference in weight is negligible, but I don't know, carbon fiber is pretty cool. And deviating from the SmallRig bandwagon, I chose the Condor Blue V-mount battery plate. And this thing just seems a little bit more versatile with more adapters. Silver's cool. Adds a little bit of flair to my entirely black setup here. And of course, the little Condor Blue knobs. Nice. It's got virtually every sort of input you need, especially deep tap, which is crucial in my world. And it has the 15mm rod adapters for adapting right onto your rod in the back, and they're adjustable. You can lay them flat, vertical, whatever. Now you don't have to have an external battery set up like a V-mount or gold mount, but I do because I hate changing batteries on everything, and of course so many things take different batteries, it just becomes a pain in the ass. This solves a lot of that, and there's always a lot of talk with V-mount versus gold mount. While yes, gold mount is a more secure locking system, I've never had an issue with V-mount. I think that's another elitist gatekeeping thing that a lot of us filmmakers do. V-mounts work just fine for me, and they're a lot cheaper. If you want to spend at least 3 times the price on a gold mount system, go for it, knock yourself out. And instead of using the internal batteries for the Sony, I have the Condor Blue dummy plate that adapts right into your camera body with a 3.5mm power adapter, which works for me. I didn't really go D-tap with that one because I power my Adamus monitor through D-tap. The A7S III requires a little less power than the Adamus does, so I figured I'd give it that the juice. And the Condor Blue D-tap to Adamus power. Condor Blue makes wonderful cables, so I can excuse their shitty ass cages. And of course you need those Scorsese points, so you can't forget about a matte box. Yet again, we have the SmallRig Mini matte box, and we got more of that sweet carbon fiber on the lens hood there. It comes with all sort of different adapter rings that adapt to the 95mm ring of this. It attaches very easily. It holds your 4x5.65, whatever they are, filters. You can add more sleds onto here to adapt more. And also has, which I like very much, the adapter rings also come with another thread. So you can adapt screw-on filters if you have them, a variable ND, whatever. Speaking of, I'm using a Earth, is that how you say it? Earth? Anyway, I'm using an Earth variable ND. It's a lot cheaper than some of the higher end ones, and you have to turn that thing up really high on the ND scale to notice any X's, and there's no color casting. I'd hold it right now, but it's on the camera, so doing its job, I think. Am I on the right? Looks good to me. But there's tons of options, so give what you like. Just watch the reviews, because a lot of the cheaper ones get that dreaded X that just sucks. And for follow focus, I have the Mini follow focus. This thing's served me well for a long time. I've used it on many rigs. It's very smooth. The rings are great, but I'd recommend removing the start and stop screws that came with this. It's a pain in the ass to remove them, but in my opinion, they do nothing but get in the way. So if you go with this, get rid of those. And for shits and giggles, I have a Tilta 15mm lens support bracket on here, which comes in handy if you're adapting larger zoom lenses to your camera, but it's kind of overkill in this case since I'm just using lightweight Miike Cine lens here. Lightweight's a loose term, they're a little heavy, but they're great. I won't get into lenses, it's a whole other ball game. Figure it out yourself. Alright, what did I forget? I'm ripping through this. Speaking of ripping through, the rails allow enough room to adapt a shoulder pad rig to this system, which I don't really do because I'm 6'5" and I don't do a lot of shoulder mount, but If you're a normal size human, you got plenty of room to do that as well. And of course, SmallRig makes plenty of great shoulder rig options. And for microphone, I'm using the Rode Video mic, shotgun mic, which is on the camera right now. You can find a lot of good used deals on these mics. I don't know why I'm talking to the mic right now and not you, but... So as with everything, there's good and bad. First is the mic is a little close to my top handle. I have large hands, so picking up the camera by the top sometimes graze the mic and that can screw up your audio. And if it does become a problem, you can adapt it on top of your side handle with an adapter or somewhere else on your rig with an adapter. There's an adapter for everything, and SmallRig makes it. And as always, the more shit you add, the more the weight builds up. So this rig gets a little heavy, but if you're in a lot of run and gun scenarios, the great thing about this setup is you can reconfigure it to your needs. You can use smaller rails, less mounts, all of that. You can ditch your battery setup and just use internal batteries, whatever. There's a lot of different options to work with in this rig. And of course all this takes quite a while to build, so if time is a factor, you may want to do a pre-build before you're shooting everything to save yourself some precious however long it takes you to do this. But just practice setting it up and you'll get it. And of course all this gets pretty expensive. But a great thing about this rig is all of it, except the cage and the dummy rig, can be adapted to virtually any other camera system, so it's pretty universal.
Am I still recording? Yeah.
So in the end, again, this is what works for me. What works for one person may not work for another. You might have to do some trial and error yourself and figure all this out on your own, but I've tested a lot of things, I've wasted a lot of money and time, and this seems to be the way to go for this camera, for me. So it might work for you. If you have any other setups of your own that you think works better than this, let me know, share them, tell me what I got wrong, tell me my opinions are trash, whatever. Hopefully this is enough, and hopefully this helps one of you out there. So on that note, drink 'em if you got 'em.